I invite our guest speaker, Shri Vijay Kumar, and other speakers. They will be continuing after his speech. Uh, Now, sculpture and Indian temple art are Vijay's passion. A shipping professional by day, Vijay devotes much of free time tracking stolen art worldwide.
Thanks. I'm not important. The cause is. So I'm taking even that 2 minutes into my position. I'm Vijay. I head the India Pride project, and you'll know why we call it India Pride project. We want to restore India's pride one artifact at a time. And before I start, I like to dedicate my work and our work to the work of the unknown artists, the sculptors, the brilliant minds who created these magnificent work of arts, to the kings and chieftains and patrons who sponsored them, and to people like you and me who continue to enjoy them. My first salute to the creators. You can look at our work. I know a lot of people don't know me. Just hashtag bring our gods home. And by gods, we just don't mean Hindu gods. We brought back Jain Murtis, we brought back Buddhist icons. For us, it's all the dispersed heritage of India. We have been, idol theft is on the news since a long time back. I'm not going to talk about colonial loot, though it's topical. I'm going to talk about present loots that happened under my watch, under your watch in the last 50 years. And this was a headline in 1985. And this has been India's performance. India from 1972 to 2000 brought back 19 antiquities. The same time, Italy and us started the race together. Italy brought back 128,000 objects. 2000 to 2012, India brought back zero. During this time, Cambodia brought back 1,008 icons. Nepal brought 990. India brought back zero. Since then, we've been active in this domain, even though we've been working since 2006 on this. So far, we have crossed 300. And each of this is not some paltry gift. It's taken us thousands of hours of background work. I'm going to show you how we do it. These are the work that we do. We work primarily on restitution to create a deterrent, to build awareness, influence policy, and capacity building. We work with law enforcement worldwide, providing a services pro bono. I'm happy to say the last 16 years, I've not taken a single dollar for our effort. My volunteers give their blood, sweat, and toil free of cost as civil society. Give you an example why we call it Bring Our Gods Home. This was a photograph from the French Institute of Pondicherry taken in 1960s. This temple was robbed in 1978. We tracked this to a dealer in London through a volunteer in London who sent us a photograph of a murti. Our work, we knew that this was a Vijayanagara bronze. The bronze was later found to have its companion. The dealer in London both had the Rama, Lakshmana, and the Sita. On August 15th of 2018, this happened. And these bronzes have gone back to the temple to be the gods that they once were. The case was closed in 1978. The FIR was destroyed. We'll come to that in a while. But the Rama is still missing one crucial piece of evidence. The Hanuman is stuck in a museum in Singapore. It's been removed of display. We hope the Hanuman also joins him. India signed the UN Convention, and as part of the UN Convention, I'm going to highlight the 1970 Convention, establishing and keeping on date a national inventory. This has been our biggest problem. You, as people who have effective organizations on the ground, I'm sorry to say, we've been in this domain for 16 years, and thanks to the Chennai chapter for calling me. No intact person has even got in touch with us, except for one chapter, with an information of something that's lost. And I'll tell you how this lead system works in a little while. We have not built an archive. The only few archives that we work with were all done in the 1950s and 60s. In my home state of Tamil Nadu, there are 43,000 temples. The French Institute in Pondicherry started a documentation effort to cover 5% of these sites. And with those 5%, we have brought back so far 36 murtis. But the same kind of effort is missing all over India, except, of course, there is an effort from IGNSA, which I'll show you in a while. We got to understand why we take this as an insult. This is a bronze that's under worship. Our bronzes are, in Tamil, we call it Tirumeni, meaning bodies of God. They're living gods. And don't think our ancients, when there was an invasion, they buried our bronzes for safety. And even today, we get these buried hoards being dug out. And when they come out, this is what happens. Within minutes, they become the gods they were. For 600 years, this Nataraja was buried. And the reason why they were not dug out earlier, where our ancients gave up their lives rather than give up the location where they were buried, because they knew the iconoclast will break or melt them. But what's happening to them now? This is a private sales happening in New York 3 years ago. And this is the condition of our priceless murtis. And they are being commodified. And this is the home of a smuggler in Thailand who recently passed away. And you actually see his party. This is his party in 2014, where we track our volunteers. And you can see every nook and corner there are Chola bronzes. And not all bronzes end up in museums. Not all our stone murtis end up in museums. And this, you see, is a indoor swimming pool of a Hollywood house. And I'm not pulling this off some record. I want to show you this. So what you're seeing is an ad for a sale of a property. And just give it a minute for it to load. And I challenge you to spot how many of our artifacts are there. And when I call them artifacts, they were never intended to be pieces of art. They were objects of virtue, objects of spiritual importance, faith. And there you see our faith, our Costa Murti is lining the outdoor swimming pool and the indoor swimming pool. And this is the ignominy our God suffer, because for a long time, India did not care. We didn't go after the heritage theft. And what we are doing now is to stop. And this is not one house. I can show you numerous examples of our murtis displayed as showpiece curios. And what's happening on the ground? Our murtis are being faked. And this is not something Tamil Nadu specific. Everybody thinks it's a Tamil Nadu problem. And when you go to museums abroad, you don't realize why those legs are stopped. And this is what happened in Devgarh. And you actually see this brilliant murti of Varaha, and it was anchored to the ground to this large pedestal. The robbers cut off the legs. And that's the reason why museums abroad house these legless pieces. And it's not just legless pieces. These objects are willingly cut for export, and you actually see them being reassembled back. This was a Varaha Murti that is on sale in America. And there are headhunters themselves, literally. This is from Umri, the Sun Temple, where the head has been smuggled out. And I know they stop at no extent. This was a book published by a British journalist in 1998, where this whole chapter on India. And they said, "Do you want the Taj Mahal? Let us know. We'll ship it out in parts." And this network actually took this brilliant 8-ton Varaha sculpture and is currently tracked in Switzerland with a dealer. When we wrote to them, the guy said, "I have three. Which one is yours?" India should have asked for all three back, but we've listed it as the most wanted, 10 most wanted objects in the world, and we're hoping it will come back. And I want to explain to you how tough it is to bring these back. And this is like economics, like wildlife trafficking. When the buying stops, the looting stops. This is in a museum in America. We gave the proof with ASI in situ photographs. And this is the work that we do. Every crack, every scratch is matched and provided as evidence. And it's taken us 16 years, and this has not come back yet. But I would like to say that this fuels the trade. In 2014, Karnataka, this temple was hit. And this is what robbers did to these beautiful Shalabanjikas. 6 of them were taken, 2 of them were broken because when they moved it, it fell down. They are still not traced. The art market has fenced them. How big is the loot? And I know Lord State Curators, the villain of my book, you will see the book a little while, his warehouses in New York were raided. 14 storage locations were raided in 2014. And this was what? And you can see this is not just Tamil Nadu. I'm just throwing, and it's going to be huge because we are talking about your logo, your emblem, not one, but an Indus seal, and not one, but so many was part of what was seized in New York. And total of 2,622 objects were seized, valued at $107 million. That's 850 crores. What the holding stock of a single dealer, unsold stock, and he was in business for 35 years. This is the extent of loot that India is being plundered to. And this is not some random theft. This is a targeted loot on an industrial scale. Well, the best of Indian art, people are coming on recce trips. They're going with our soul scholars. They're going with smugglers, picking the best of Indian art, and then it's being priced. And now with technology, it's worse. I'll show you how. This is a $15 million Ekshi that was on sale, stolen from Satna, from a farmer's place. They cut it into 3 pieces, got it stitched in America. The guy is now under investigation by Homeland Security, but then she was seized. This was the goat-headed yogini from UP, and it was up for auction in 1988. What do these collectors do after their fashion, their fetish goes off? She was left in a farm. And there, one of our volunteers spotted it, and we got her back early part of this year. She's on the way back to India. And I'm going to show you how we solved the theft. We're going to have Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal a little while coming and talking. And Sanjeev was meeting a retired ASA official, and he told us that there was a theft that happened in 1962. Can Vijay solve it? And this was a theft where I was investigating another Buddha that was in Tefaf in art sale. And we knew that at that time, 16 bronzes were stolen from the site museum in Nalanda. I took it as a challenge. We got this. India's been trying to get one of them from the LACMA since 42 years. We couldn't get it back. But thankfully, Dr. Bishwas gave us photographs of the missing murtis, at least a few of them. He had saved the original departmental notes. And with this data, we managed to successfully claim against LACMA. But it gets interesting. One of our networks on WhatsApp, they were going for TEFAF show, and we told them, can you list whatever is sale by these dealers? And they started sending us photographs, and you can actually see what happened at 3:48. At that time I was in Singapore. At 3:48 a.m., I go back to her and said, think I have a match. And we found the match. We got the dealer, stopped the sale in TEFAF Maastricht. They had broken a piece of the Buddha, the tree leaf, and stuck it on the other side, but still our claim held. And again, ASI sent a letter supportive. It was a British dealer. ICOM officials got involved. Our match was confirmed. And on August 15th, again, the next year, this ceremony happened when this Buddha came back that was stolen in 1961, and he is back in India. There are creative works that are happening. I'm not going to stop because they don't have give me time. So the restorers are getting more creative. They are actually doing this. And imagine, is this state, this murti with encrustations were allowed for export out of India. It went to London. He did the cleaning, made new legs. This dealer, this restorer, Neil Perry Smith, has been extradited to America by Homeland Security, and he's currently facing charges. So what we do, we raise awareness. We work with school kids. On the ground, how do we get the tips? We work auction catalogs. We ask our volunteers to send us. People are tweeting fines to us. People are reporting thefts, because most of it, when an object comes off the ground, India does not have a finder's fee. And these are being sold for very small amounts, not for the $1 million that we're talking about. And we are also creating catalogs. And catalogs minded, these dealers, corrupt dealers, have been advertising in Mark, they've been advertising in Arts of Asia, creating a provenance. We build a knowledge base. We go back and dip into that knowledge base. This was a book in 1916 that was published, which had this only photograph, which we tracked. This temple was not known. We went on social media, and people reverted back. There's a small village with a ruined temple, and this temple was restored. And this is the banner. This bronze is currently in Singapore. And we made this banner. This temple is currently worshipping the banner. We also work with other areas whenever there's a theft. Like this theft happened, the MUT reached out to us. We said, is it recent theft? Publish the photograph. A published antiquity is unsellable in the international market. The robbers did that. They threw it away in that. This is the book. I'm not trying to sell the book. This is the villain of my book, Subhash Kapoor. He has these two bronzes, along with two more bronzes, hidden in New York by his sister, because when he was in Interpol custody, he wrote a letter back to his manager saying, hide the two dancers. Still now, total of $13.5 million worth is hidden in New York. We have not been able to get. But look at what they did. They stole this Nataraja, cut off his hand thinking it was made of gold. They melted it. The jeweler said there's no gold. They killed the jeweler. There's a murder case. But in this handed condition, this Nataraja was smuggled out via Nepal to London. The restorer gave it a new hand, and it made it to the cover of Subhash Kapoor. A month before he was arrested, this Nataraja again came back to Chennai, miraculously appearing with the police, without a visa, without a passport. But technology is working backwards. These are robber offering photos, like Navina Swayamvar. The robbers are stealing. There you see a door guardian with a dhoti in the backside, with a lungi in the backside. And these are being bid on by dealers. And these are the objects that are being trafficked. And I'm going to show you a few successful cases. This was my first success in 2013, the Vrajatalam Ardhanari. The robbers had taken it from the Costa. This is the robber offering photo. They had made a replacement and kept it. And the replacement was a poor copy. We managed to convince Australia that it was stolen. The Art Gallery of New South Wales returned this, and the Australian Premier brought it to Prime Minister Modi, and it came back. Hold on. This led to a lot of returns. And I'm going to show you one particular murti. This standing Samandar was stolen in 1967. We worked with the French Institute, the original archival photos. He's gone back to the temple. This priest is 75 years old. It was lost during his father's time. And he insisted that he will collect this from the courts from my hand. And I'm just going to play a small video. Can I have the voice?
கையால் இந்த சாமி பால கூட அப்பா கூட போய் அவசியம் பண்ணியிருக்காரு. இது ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு பார்த்துட்டு.
Thank you. And this, he said, I had prayed to the statue as a boy. And you can actually see how they look at, and this is what we want to do. We don't want the returns to go back to museums. We want it to go back to the temple, and this is what happened with the $5.6 million Sri Puran and Nataraja. The Nataraja was stolen. Thankfully, it was photographed. This is the priest, or rather the custodian, praying to the empty place. The robber offering photos in the catalog. National Gallery of Australia bought it for $5.6 million. We talked to them, quietly say, return it. They said, the curator said there are hundreds of Natarajas. You don't know the difference. So instead of giving him the proof, we put it on YouTube. It was so embarrassing for them that, again, with the same, the Prime Minister brought back, it went back to the same temple, kept in the same place from where he was stolen. And this was how the temple celebrated the return. It was a ruined temple, and this is how the villagers redid the temple to receive the Lord. And it set off a lot of things, creative work. Singapore returned her consort. It also came back. And the importance of archival, and this is where I need Intax's help. You guys are on the ground. If you can get photographs, and I'll tell you, this entire case was because the casting defect was captured in the photograph. There was this small defect in the trunk, which was captured in the original photograph, and we managed to get this Ganesha back. Along with this, Kapoor had donated to the Toledo Museum $500,000 worth of Shunga, terracotta, and Gupta stuff. And these were fat packed and sent by courier. And on hardly 2 of the 100 that were sent were received intact. And these are all rattles, brilliant. We don't want to go into that. Let me show you the case of another returning Nataraja. This is how the village community received the Nataraja as he was brought back. About 8,000 people receiving the Lord that was stolen in the 1972, welcoming him back in a procession, and it going back to the temple. We worked with the temple to build CCTV, safe rooms, and this is what we want people to realize, that these are gods, and please return the gods back to worship. So I'm going to take 5 more minutes. Okay. So call 911. This is something we're working on. People are afraid to go to talk to the police for obvious reasons. So they reach out to us, and I'm just going to take you through. So this is a volunteer of ours, meets a priest. The priest says something missing in 1971. The police gave us replacement idols, closed the case. FIR is missing. But he managed to show us a photograph because he traced the photograph, and there we go. We found it in New York, and it comes back. We go back, reopen the case. The idol wing in Tamil Nadu reopened the case. The paperwork was done. The consort is still missing, so that's why I've hidden it. We are still searching for her. And the photo studio really had the invoice and the negative. And with that proof and the temple register, the custodian written on June 6th of 1971, I went to the police station to record the FIR. And that was shown as evidence to the US authorities. And it was in the most prestigious Asia Society Museum. And we provided the matches. So this is what we do with our work. Every single crack is matched. And this, when provided with such evidence, Prime Minister Modi was there. This came back, and he's also gone back to worship. And this is the priest who gave us this valuable tip. And he has gone back to worship, going back to be the gods. Again, as I said, we are doing a lot of work, not just with Hindu deities, not just with Tamil Nadu. This is just the returns that we have done this year. So this was in Milan. We did it, this one in Australia. And this is again interesting case, auctioned off by Christie's. We managed to find out from the shipping records that it was with a diplomat in Australia. Managed to find that it was stolen, again a match. We are taking on very powerful people. We are taking on these 3 bronzes that you're seeing, where was the founder of Netscape. He was a collector, and faced with our evidence, he returned these bronzes back. We worked on this case. It's still not public. It's just going to hit the news now. It was the auction house tried to sell it Sotheby's tried to sell it in 1999. Bonhams tried to sell it in 2013. Information on missing idols. We tracked this to a auction house in. So first documentation. This was held from a local intact chapter. They provided us a photograph, and we managed to get the book back. I'm basically working with the authorities to come up with a central art crime squad, tough national laws for heritage crimes. Would you know that we don't even have a section under the IPC for heritage theft? We only charge them at a 380, which is housebreaking theft. We are putting together a citizen-led heritage archive. We're engaging with local communities for anti-theft measures, CCTV and a safe house. Very, very basic. Tech collaboration for image recognition, web crawlers to monitor online, institutions to support dating and identify artifacts. Sri Mohammed sir has been very crucial in providing evidence in a lot of cases where he knows the shortcomings. And national loss registry where we can register what is left. Sensitize law enforcement to reopen closed cases. All of you are having some service background. Most of the cases, the FIRs are closed by police stations because they think an open FIR is a bad name. If you can look at what they've closed saying idols not traceable, we need to work on capacity building and reward whistleblowers, and all is not lost. I don't want to end up in a very sorry state. I'm going to show you this particular scene where not just in India, we are working with Nepal. So just an audio, please. Sorry. This statue of Lakshmi Narayan was stolen in the 1960s and it was traced to a Denver museum. You're actually seeing the idol go back to the same plinth pedestal from where he was stolen from. Last 2 minutes. And that's the Lakshmi Narayan back after 37 years in Nepal. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Great. Thank you. Sure. I'm supposed to give him a request from my side, a bucket list, like a form. Just one thing, all of you are on the ground, you know what is stolen. If you're scared to report officially, work with us. There are different usages for the word scared.
Don't worry, that portion we'll take care of. We just want you to collaborate.
He is, but I'm not sure. If you give me a photograph, I have records going back to 1960s. We will definitely bring them back, and I'm sure the next time we meet.
On a piece of paper so that people will.
Sure, sir. I'll do that. Thank you.